Hey everyone, welcome to the BetSperts Golf Valero Texas Open Roundtable Show. I'm Ryan Noonan and excited to be joined by the director of all things content related here at BetSperts, Andy Molitor, along with our PGA Tour data analyst, Ron Kloss. You know Ron on Twitter. It's PGA Splits 101. We're also joined by our guest this week, senior editor over at BetSided. It is Iain MacMillan. I can get my words straight here. It's been a long week, Ian. Welcome to the show. Excited to break down Valero with you. What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. I hear you. It's been a busy week. Final Four, golf, getting ready for the Masters next week. It's been a tough few weeks, but yeah, I'm ready to go.
Excited to unpack this with you. So, reminder to everyone before we jump into it, we do have two shows every week on Tuesdays. One for betting, one for DFS. Both available in podcast form and on our BetSperts YouTube page. Really appreciate it if you could find those and subscribe so you don't miss a show. Moving forward, we'll also be live in this space every Wednesday with the goal of sharing our 11th hour thoughts for this current week's events, ideally answering any questions that you have as a viewer, betting, DFS, anything that you have in mind. So, Ian, get us started. I know we're looking forward. I know basically all of our content this week is definitely had an eye forward to the Masters, but talk to me a little bit about what you've looked at here at Valero and what's caught your eye.
What's caught my eye, and I'm being a little bit biased, but I'm leading into a couple of Canadians this week, guys. I don't know how you feel about Corey Connors and Adam Hadwin as well. Corey Connors, obviously, his only PGA Tour win is here. But also, I want to talk a little bit more about Adam Hadwin because I think he's kind of flying under the radar this week, especially in one very specific statistic. That's huge at TPC San Antonio, in my opinion, and that's sand to save percentage because these bunkers are just treacherous at this course, and he's one of the best golfers on the tour right now, fourth in sand save percentage, and he's also been playing pretty well. T9 at the Players, T7 at Valspar. So I am Canadian. I am being a little bit biased. There is no man that I like betting on more than Corey Connors, but I'm tossing Adam Hadwin into the mix as well. So I'm curious your thoughts on a couple of Canucks this weekend.
I like Hadwin quite a bit. I bet Hadwin in a couple of different ways. I was actually looking to get a third Canuck down if Taylor Pendrith didn't withdraw. I thought he set up really nice for this place too. So I would have been comfortable with an all Canuck card. I know Kloss, I believe you are also interested a little bit in Hadwin here.
Yeah, when I ran my model, he finished third overall, which I know he's been playing well. But he's just been so consistent lately. 5 top 25s in his last in the last 2 months. So, on DFS, I expect him to be a little chalky. But just betting wise, he's definitely, I got an outright on him at 40-1. So really love him this week.
What do you have for ownership wise, Ron, in the low teens-ish area?
My last check, he was actually right around 17%.
Okay.
So I think more people are kind of who are running models at least are kind of seeing him pop just because of that recent form. And, he kind of does fit well with this course. And, you can play the motivation angle as well with trying to get into the Masters. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even told you two yet, but I've started to put together some of our new ownership projections, kind of the project I was working on, and I came up with Corey Connors second overall chalk. Right, I have him ahead of Matsu. I had him ahead of, which is whatever. If we're talking betting, I don't care how many people have it, as long as I got a good number before the betting public really got deep into it and depressed the number. But as far as it goes, and they're still like Wiley said the other day when you guys had him on, they're still good chalk. Like you still. Yeah. You don't want to be missing out on the good chalk and be behind the 8 ball when you miss out on a guy who scores highly just because you were worried about ownership. Yeah, I have him ahead of Kirk, Matsuyama, Woodland, all those guys that are a little lower right there.
Yeah, Ian, I want to circle back a little bit. Talk to me about just your kind of general approach as far as what you like to bet. We talk about this on the betting show because there are so many different ways to skin the cat in golf betting, right? You can be outright heavy. Jeff Feinberg is on our betting show every week. Jeff almost exclusively bets outrights. Andy likes matchups. I love finishing position bets. We all kind of have a mix. Is there kind of a lane that you choose? Do you kind of just approach the board and take it week by week? And then how is Valero as far as like a bankroll management? Is this like a full week for you? Or are you scaling back a little bit because the Masters is on deck? Like kind of how is your normal approach?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a full week for me. I know some guys look at this event, and especially with the top guys, I think they may not have kind of the motivation. The guys like Rory are probably using this more as a warm-up more than anything else. I don't necessarily buy into that narrative, so I'm treating it as a full week, even with the Masters next week. But funny you ask, because in the past, I've always been more of like a top 5, top 10, top 20 guy, and usually staying away from outrights, except for at the majors. I used to like to sprinkle, but then at the end of last season, I hit a few outrights, and just the degenerate in me kind of got addicted to hitting like 20-1, 25-1. I hit Cameron Champ 100-1, I believe it was the 3M Open. So then early this year, I've been betting a lot of outrights, and it actually has not been going as well for me. And a lot of guys who I'm betting outright end up finishing second, end up finishing third. Kevin Kisner, I picked outright at WDC last year, and he fell, one match short. So starting this week, I'm actually going to go back to kind of my old strategy. It might not be as exciting to win, a top 10 at 2-1 as opposed to a winner at 15-1, but I've been tracking my bets this year a lot more too. I'm trying to be a little bit more responsible instead of just firing off at will. And I think it's going to be a little bit better for my bankroll. But one of my favorite things to do week in and week out, as I definitely, place pre-tournament bets, but I love the 3-ball bets. Those are my favorite golf bets to do. Round by round, 3-ball bets, 2-ball bets, if they're pairings on the weekends. But those are kind of my favorite, especially when you get featured groups, so then you can just watch one group throughout the entire day. And those I like quite a bit. But as far as pre-tournament bets, I'm slowly rolling back in the outrights.
Man, Ron can attest to this, man. If you needed a top 2 last year, I was your guy. If you needed the winner, I was going to be holding the bag with you. It was an incredibly painful run of like top 5s with outrights, and yeah, it's tough. So, Kloss though, for some reason, just stumbles in outrights all over the place. So he's the wrong guy to complain to.
Yeah, I take it too easy on outrights because I can't ever build a huge card. I'm like a 2 or 3 outright guy. I always have been. Just some value plays here and there, and then it is hitting a few. It just changes your mindset. It's like having a bad Sunday in the NFL. You don't even want to look at the lines that Sunday night for the next week. Like,
absolutely,
you just want to go to bed. I don't want to deal with it. It's the exact opposite. You hit an outright, you're just like, why aren't their prices up for next? Where are the Rocket Mortgage prices? Why don't we have this up? Why aren't they doing this? And like I told you this before. I had the Barbasol and Morikawa double with power and more. Like I was ready to fire like 20 outrights next week, and obviously I didn't hit anything that week. But it just changes your mindset. And I've been through a lot of mindset changes with golf. Like my first year betting golf started at the Masters. And I had a lot of tutoring from people who've done it for many years. I learned a lot of stuff, and I did things a certain way, and I had some success. And then I just took off pretty much the football season. And then the first tournament I bet again were like Sony and the Hawaiian stuff, and that's not the same. Like the fields, just like it's not this. I just got murdered for like 3 weeks to start the season, and I'm like, why? I'm doing everything the same. What's going on? They're like, This isn't the middle of the season tournaments. Like these are going to play a little different. You have different kinds of motivation, way different fields. It's like this is the Tournament of Champions. What do you want to do with this, Andy? It's not like you were doing last summer. So I pissed away, I think, my entire first year's winnings at like Sony last year. It was a learning experience, and I think that's probably the case with every sport. Just kind of keep evolving and try not to fall into too many traps, betting match play.
I do love the finishing position bets. Like to Ian's point, like Hadwin. Like I love Hadwin this week, but I took Hadwin at plus 115 for a T30, right? So like I love him. I think he can comfortably finish way above that. But like plus 115, if we go back to the football reference, I know it's not a binary outcome like a football bet is. It's this side or this side, but like we have obviously a lot of other variants in golf betting, but man, it's a guy that I'm very strong on, and I'm getting plus money, even if it's barely plus money. I feel really good about that from a bankroll management, sustainable standpoint, sprinkling, a unit and a half, 2 units on outrights every week, and then figuring out what to do from there. So, Ron, let's kick it to you. I want to get your feel for the top of the board. I know it's not a great field, but fairly decent at the top of the board with obviously Rory, Hideki, probably the biggest question mark of the bunch because we haven't seen him since he withdrew with the neck and back stuff of the players. Spieth, obviously, rolled out of bed and won here last year, came in here in incredible form. Answer's a guy that is going to actually roll out of bed. You've heard that narrative. This is a home game for Answer. Hasn't really mattered in the past, has not found the board as far as T20s yet at this event in 4 tries. And then Bryson, kind of the wild card of, I'm not really letting it all go until we get to the Masters, but I don't even know what that means for Bryson. It looks like every shot is him letting it all go. How do you think the top of the board is shaking out from an ownership standpoint? Who are you keying in on, and is there anyone that you are fading?
Yeah, so my initial outlook just, when things first came out was, to kind of skip that whole top range. And betting-wise, that's what I'm pretty much doing. But then, DFS, when you start – I kind of dug in, and I did this before, but I kind of refreshed it, is kind of analyzing how a player performs the week before a major. And so, there's a lot of, perception out there that, these guys are just going to be warming up and they're just going to be getting ready for the Masters. And then, I look and I see Rory has, he's averaging almost 2 strokes per round in 54 rounds going back to 2012. We're talking 8 top 10s, only 1 missed cut. So, just going by that history, that definitely got me back on him for DraftKings. And kind of, going down, these other guys, Matsuyama, he's been out for a while. Bryson, like you said. So I think I'm kind of just focusing on probably being overweight on Rory at the top of the board. And then, I know the answer thing, but I never seem to get him right. So definitely Rory.
Yeah, I've been struggling with one and done, and I have a couple leagues I'm doing well, but like this week sucks, and this week sucks for betting some of these top of the board guys because I've never been so narrative heavy outside of it. It's the Valero. This isn't like the US Open. Like we have all these dumb narratives with all the big names. I can find like huge fatal flaws in everybody. Like the Matsuyama, is he healthy? Rory, yeah, he's really good, but he's playing Augusta. When's the last time he played here in San Antonio? Has he ever?
It was 2013, I believe.
Yeah, I thought he played forever ago. So like, doesn't he want to get a few more practice rounds in here? Does he give a shit? Hopefully he's just hoping that Tiger plays so he doesn't have to hear all the narrative stuff when he gets to Georgia. And then Bryson's the injury answers, like everyone's, does length really matter here? Or can a guy who doesn't hit it too long, can he make a dent here? And yeah, sleeping in his home bed kind of thing. I've never been huge on that one. We'll see. But yeah, like all the guys at the top of the board, maybe outside of Corey Connors, everybody has a knock. What's the knock on Corey Connors?
The knock on Connors is he just played 7 rounds of golf. These guys are professional golfers, though. Also, them playing a ton of golf isn't. But again, I've heard it this week, so I wanted to put it out there. But I agree. I don't think it's a knock on Connors at all. I think he is back to the form that we saw last year too. So he feels like pretty good chalk, closer to the top of the board. There's that 9K range too, also with Connors, and then I think Woodland and Kirk, Ron, I also think are going to be the chalkiest of the bunch. Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Both. Probably somewhere between 18-20%. Woodland's I think is just really good chalk though, just because of how he's trending upward. Got some pretty decent past history here. Usually plays good in Texas, so he's definitely someone I'm playing. And then you got Tony Finau sitting there, maybe 12%. It looks like it's even dropping lower. I don't know what you got on that, Andy, but. He's definitely, you talk about boomer bust, will he turn it around this week? Who knows?
I got him at like 10.5. And maybe something I've been thinking about, and something I just discussed as well. Maybe a good question for Ian here is like how we're evaluating last week. Cause like a lot of guys played Corrales, and I think we could put some context like, hey, yeah, it's not a super hard course. It's long, but not a super hard field. But like the match play stuff, I saw some people trying to put stats out. And they said, here's strokes gained for match play. We took out all the conceded putts and stuff. But at the same time, in my head, it's like there's shots that those guys are taking last week that you would never take in a stroke play match or a stroke play tournament, where it's like, well, I have to go for this green. And, if you took that shot in a normal tournament, your caddy might quit. Like, how are we supposed to take those shots and use those in stats? So I've finally decided, before the tournament even started, I said, I'm going to really, really try to watch as much as I can so I can use some eye test here, because I think all these stats are going to just kind of suck, and I'm going to have to throw most of it out and just use what I saw.
Yeah, I agree with that. For the match play tournament, for me, I don't look at any stats for the tournament. I look at basically what you just said, kind of a binary thing. Did the golfer play well or did he play poorly?
Yes.
Which actually brings up one name that you guys haven't mentioned yet. I don't think so, which I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are this week. Jordan Spieth, second on the odds list right now. I know he's the defending champ. I know he always plays well at this course. I'm actually betting on him to miss the cut this week.
Ooh,
I think his swing is all out of sorts right now. He's like 96th on tour in total strokes gained. His short game has been terrible outside the top 100 and around the green and putting. So I get why he's second on the odds list, because he won it last year, but I think his game's way off right now. I'm curious what you guys think about him.
Yeah, I have a pretty heavy weight on, approach shots because of some of the long par fours, especially the long multiple 3-shot par fives here. So you're going to have a lot of wedge play, 125 and in. And Spieth is 120th in the fields in that metric right now, which is not great. We're going to have him, popping a lot better. And yeah, he won last year, to your point, Ian, but like, he came in red hot. The form heading into it was just incredible. So he is someone that is not on the betting card for me anywhere. I could see it because he's just Jordan Spieth, and sometimes it's all smoke and mirrors. It can be, he could be a mess, and then all of a sudden the putter runs so hot, and in the chipping, he chips in from the bunker, and you faded him and you're pissed, and he just has the Spieth magic. But he's not someone that I'm definitely prioritizing in DFS. Ron, do you have any Spieth takes this week?
Yeah, just going back to the whole, playing before a major, he's been kind of boom or bust. You saw him win last year, but then he's also missed 3 cuts playing the week before a major. So looking at it from that angle, and then a couple of red flags for me, just, in the field, those last 24 rounds, he's ranked 72nd in approach. He's actually 76th putting on these greens, these kind of overseeded Poa Trivialis greens. So he actually hasn't been putting too well on those either, at least kind of over his last 30 rounds. So yeah, definitely some red flags for me. Birdie or better percentage has been pretty low. So, of course he can pull it out like he always seems to when you don't expect it. But like for DFS at that price, I'm not touching that.
Yeah. And again, don't laugh, Noonan, but I did just play 18 holes on the Nintendo. I played the TV and it's one of the games. It's one of the games, that they actually have built in. It's not a user created course. So those are really accurate. Like, I go and look at that, and Christ on a bicycle. If you're not good out of the rough on your second shot, like if you don't have the club speed, the strength to hit decent shots out of the rough, you might really struggle, because there's a bunch of greens that are going to have very small landing areas. They're going to look huge, but they have huge runoffs into bunkers on both sides. You have these double tiered ones where the green's massive, but like 80% of it's this lower tier where you're just, praying for 2-putt and hopefully making it as you go uphill. And really, like, there's some nasty spots for trying to hit your second shot if you're spraying it a little. And Jordy is, his approach game isn't where it should be. I was kind of pissed, and I guess I don't know why I was stupid enough to not just put 2 and 2 together based on the outright odds. But the more I looked at it, I said, Rory's too expensive. Like, his price is off. He's very good, but his mind's in Augusta. He's not practicing here. I'd like to fade him in some head-to-heads. And then, of course, the first ones on the board are just Spieth, Rory. I'm like, well, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to, I'm not going to do it with Jordan. So I'm looking for more Rory head-to-heads, Rory 3-balls, Rory group. Maybe, I don't know, if there's like some European top Euro or something like that where he's taking up too much wind share. Lowry's not here, so you won't get top Irish, but I don't know, it's McIntyre's here.
Yeah, Bobby Mack is here. Top Euro, anywhere from like 165 to Bet Rivers at plus 200 for the best Euro for Rory. So Yeah, then you're running into a big drop off. It's Knox, Højgaard, Poulter, Bobby Mack.
It's not going to be Poulter. Yeah, maybe some Højgaard and some Bobby Mack for top Euro. I need to add some props this week because I don't have a ton. I just have some head-to-heads and a couple outrights. I think I need some props to fill out the card for tonight.
I like the Spieth playing. And did you like 2-1, 3-1? There's a few different stuff out there.
Yeah, I think I got it plus 275, so just under 3-1, I think.
It's beautiful. I also made a to miss the cut bet this week, and it is Mr. Course History himself, Charlie Hoffman. Who, like, I mean, you could argue that
Did you see Hoffman, the FanDuel odds when they opened? Dude, where he was like 31-1.
The course history here is like it is almost Tiger-esque at like a number of events. It is insane. It's 15. Ron's giving me side eye, but it is 15 years, and he's got like 3 times outside of the top 13, a bunch of 2s and 3s, and he won it. And it's like he has been awful for 6 months. He has been treacherous. He's losing a full shot on approach per round for like the past 3 months or something like that. It's like I don't understand it. Plus money for him to miss the cut. Feels like a steal. So I took him at MGM plus 135 to miss the cut. I will be rooting against the garbage man this weekend. I love Charlie. He's cashed many bets for me before, but it's not this week. And otherwise, just like course history be damned, I'll just follow it blindly for the rest of my life if he somehow has a great week here.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you brought him up.
Top twos. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it because it's a fascinating kind of case where, like you said, a guy who has amazing course history, but has just been terrible the past 6 months. I did the opposite as you, though. I decided to ride the course history. I sprinkled on him a little bit, top 10 at 4-1. Not feeling comfortable about it, of course, but I mean, like I said, it's a fascinating case study. If I lose that bet, then I'm fine with it. But I mean, you look at that course, like you said, I think only 2 times he's played here, he's finished outside the top 13. So
it's crazy.
Maybe you can get something going. Maybe.
It feels like you don't both lose. Like it doesn't feel like Charlie Hoffman played just okay this week. It's either course history came through and he's like T7, or he shoots, he goes like 78, 77. And he's gone. Like
one of the two.
It doesn't feel like there's a big in between. I'm not telling people you should bet a big old Polish middle on like top 10 and miss the cut. Let's not do that. That's
the Patton Kazire. That's I don't know if this is a bad week for it, but that is the Patton Kazire. Anytime you bet him in the top 10 or top 20, just cover yourself on the bet side, take him to miss the cut, and you cover all the outcomes. Yeah. Because it's usually one or the other for him.
Just really quick on Hoffman, Ryan. The only thing I'm going to say to you is in 2019.
The bet's in the books, right? It's done. I don't know what to do.
No, I'm just saying in 2019, his last 5 events before the Valero, he was losing an average of 1.6 strokes per round. So, and when I did the quotes article, I remember him saying, I think he had a pretty bad Thursday when he came into that first round. And then he just said, Friday something clicked for him and he kind of remembered all the lines on the course and he just got really comfortable. And then he went on to finish second in 2019. So, it's just weird how some courses click for guys. And, I guess this will be one of the ultimate tests of course history. How much does it matter?
Yeah. Early congrats, Ian, because it sounds like you're in good shape. But, I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't, I think there's nuances super hard. It's really hard on the internet. People do not allow any of it. You have to pick a lane. But, like, I believe that there is something to course history for sure, right? Like, we play sports. If you golf or, I always equate it to batter versus pitcher stuff in baseball, right? If you ever bet baseball or play baseball DFS or something, like people will give you really small samples of this dude owns this guy, and it's like, well, yeah, but it's only 25 at bats. But like if you've ever stood in the batter's box against a guy that you've had success before against, like you were confident when this guy is dialing it up, and there's something to like, I'm familiar with this track, and I think there is something to it, but this feels like an extreme version because he has been so poor. Again, this is an extreme version of course history too. So it's going to be a definitely interesting thing to watch this week. And we won't get to analyze it at all because as Andy and I think Jeff mentioned too, this tournament goes poof Sunday night around 6:00 and everyone starts talking about something else. And we don't spend any time analyzing what happened at the Valero. So what else? If we're going to make Rory work or anyone else at the top, Ron, we got to go down to the bottom of the board. And on DraftKings, you can go almost all the way down to the bottom to get some value? Are there any guys down in the 6K range that are viable, you think, sprinkling in to allow you to build some lineups with Rory and some other guys that make it a little bit tolerable?
Yeah, I think, Matthew Neesmith's going to be pretty popular. I have him around 12% right now. He was quoted as saying he's really been working on his putting grip, and, obviously that's his downfall is, the flat stick on the greens. And so, it looked like he had it figured out somewhat. That last event, I can't remember which one it was, but when he was kind of in it till the end there, I like JJ Spawn is a guy that really sticks out to me. He's only 6,700 on DraftKings. Kind of 7 top 30s over the last few months. He's really kind of coming into his own, pretty much in the best stretch of his career. And he's probably not going to finish top 5 or top 10 or anything, but that's a guy who even a top 20 bet. Definitely for DFS if you're trying to make room for Rory, or if you're trying to get a couple 9K guys up there. He's a guy. Austin Smotherman has Texas roots, went to SMU. We got some wind in the forecast different times throughout. So just some of these guys who kind of like Texas courses, and even jumping up a little bit more as far as ownership for DFS. Ryan Palmer, kind of in the same Charlie Hoffman theme. He's been really bad lately. But again, like Hoffman, I got both those guys coming in at 7%. So, we talked about this with Wiley a little bit yesterday, but, guys like that who have talent, even though Palmer's getting a little bit older, he's not going to play bad forever. And so, never know. This, pretty good course history. This could be the week he turns it around.
I want you to go all the way down the board. Is Peter Uline viable at 6K flat?
Oh, yes, for sure. We were talking about that. I think we'd agree that's somewhat of a mistake pricing wise.
My numbers never like him, but I wouldn't make him 6K.
Yeah, he should be somewhere probably around 6.7, 6.8, somewhere in there at least.
That's what the betting market's telling us, because he's got steamed a little bit, and it's probably because of DFS players. But his finishing position range is, especially on PointsBet, for instance, it's up there with 8K guys, which is really wild to see, and he's all the way down at 6. So, Ian, what's your DFS approach? Are you similar to when we talk about outrights? Obviously, not a lot of people are playing cash games per se and golf DFS anymore. And if you are, good for you. I don't know how that works out. But are you we firing at the milli makers? What's your typical 3 max entry? What are your approach DFS wise?
I've just recently started playing DFS, to be honest.
Okay.
I've historically not been a DFS guy whatsoever. I did enter a lineup this week on DraftKings, a single entry 40K Albatross. I don't know. I pick one each week. That's like a $13, $15 entry and put together a lineup and hope for the best.
Single entry is the way to go, especially if you're doing that. Stay in the single entry streets. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. One name that I have in my lineup that's pretty cheap. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on 6,700. Hayden Buckley, a guy who had a pretty decent outing last week at Punta Cana. What was it? He was T13 last week. Very good off the tee. He's top 10 in strokes gained off the tee, I think, right now. 9th in strokes gained off the tee. Obviously, his short game is terrible, but in a weaker field, 31st in greens and regulation. Pretty cheap guy to put into your DFS lineup. Decent form last week.
Yeah, like the wind. If the wind comes into play, we like to see guys that played. At least I'm factoring that in a little bit. I like to see guys that handled themselves well last week at Punta Cana with the wind. Ron, anything on Buckley in the model?
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that one of the best, like Ian said, one of the best off the tee players in the game. Struggles a little bit at different times with the short game. I have him ranked pretty low around the green putting. But again, this is a ball striker's course, and so obviously there's a lot of trouble if you're really spraying it wide, as far as the rocky kind of brush areas. But for him, if he's keeping the ball in play, his approach game is pretty decent. So, this is a week where I'm not emphasizing putting as much, just because the stats and the data tell you putting is a little bit easier here for the most part. I guess it's just the around the green play that will scare me a little bit. We have had some. I'm only probably about 2 hours away from San Antonio, so it's been drought season here. So we have had a little bit more rain recently, but I kind of expect these greens to be pretty firm tomorrow. So, the approach is going to be a challenge for everybody. Are you able to hold the green? And then like Andy said, there's so many of these shaved runoff areas where you're going to have to be putting or chipping uphill because a lot of these greens are elevated. So that's my only concern with Buckley. But yeah, definitely a young guy who can definitely pop here.
And I mean, there's some of these holes, and again, like I turned the wind off on the Nintendo game. I don't want to deal with that.
What'd you shoot by the way? 58?
I shot a 56.
56.
No, 55. Excuse me, Dan.
Okay.
So Dan shot from the reds and turned off the wind, and then he set the fairway as hard as he could get. Greens soft as a baby's butt, and he used the putting cheat thing where you can see where your line's going. Shot a 46 on this. That's how broken the game is if you really want to make it. But that's the thing. Like I said, I was struggling with some of the second shots. No wind. There's going to be some strong crosswinds. You're going to have a couple where you're not only, the second shot, but your tee shot is right into the teeth of the wind. And if it's hitting 20 miles an hour, it's going to be a real pain in the ass course for some guys. I know we're saying the winds might be just kind of like consistent throughout the day, maybe not a wave advantage, but then it's just a pain in the ass for everybody. And everyone's fighting this wind with these second shots. Although I guess if I'm a 2022 professional golfer, I'd rather see this course with like 2 or 3 bunkers around every green than nasty collection areas with tall grass. Because like these guys, they treat bunkers like, I feel so bad about my sand game watching pros. I feel bad about all my game watching pros, but like I think sometimes they'd way rather be in these bunkers if they're right down in the flat spot in the middle than anywhere else around the green in collections areas or rough. Like they just put that right next to the pin every time anyway. So maybe it won't be as big of an issue as I think with all these bunkers and the fact that they get down up and down so easily from them anyway.
I don't think we're going to have a players weather situation, Ron. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does look like it is going to be significantly windier, or at least windier in the afternoon tomorrow. So maybe the guys getting out really early tomorrow have a slight advantage. And that actually lends itself to some guys that we've already talked about that we like Hadwin and Kirk. Rory's getting out in kind of that earlier wave on Thursday. So is there anything to that? Do you think it's something that, again, we're getting closer? I know we don't want to speculate too much on this on, say, Monday or Tuesday, but is there anything that you've seen that indicates any strong AM, PM wave stuff?
So I use 2 sites. I use Windfinder and I use AccuWeather, and they're both kind of similar at the moment. Tomorrow it looks pretty flat throughout.
Okay.
You have a few gusts early in the morning, but it's pretty much actually very light, like 3 miles an hour for a large portion of the round. Looks like it picks up again around 6 o'clock, but most of them are off the course by then. I will say, though, Friday morning, when they tee off at 7, 8, that area, it's going to be around 3 to 7 miles per hour. And once you get to the afternoon wave, it's up to 13, 14. So there might be, in my opinion, a PM, AM advantage, maybe slight. So I'm always a big believer in, even if you don't see an advantage, you should still at least, especially if you're playing multiple lineups, just have a few lineups where you're stacking AM guys together and other ones where you're stacking PM guys. That's just always the smart thing to do, in my opinion.
I gave it a bump. I gave the PM AM a little bump. I'm not going to do like full six player stacks just based on that. Maybe if I do enough lineups, I don't know. See if I get weird. My DFS strategy is like Ian's, except it ramps up. Like I'm just going to do like, I got a lineup I really like, I hand built, and I put it in a couple lineups, and then I get talking DFS with some guys. I'm like, shit, that's a good build. And then I'll go put a few more together, and then you click the button, and then you click the bulk enter, and all of a sudden it's like, man, I have like 60 entries all of a sudden. Not 60 lineups, but I've entered a shitload. And oh man, I have some tickets. I should use these up. Or oh, you want to use your crowns? I'll use my crowns. I'll enter a few more contests. So it just snowballs for me. It's I like Showdown a lot more though. That's right. I do take it easy, and then I just like to play the Showdown. I like the daily stuff a lot better. I think especially after you get a kind of a feel for how the course is playing Thursday, a feel for how some of the golfers are playing. I wish he wasn't so expensive. I wish he was a little under 7, but CT Pan's kind of in a lot of my player pool this week. if you want to go against course history, there's a bunch of guys. You go look at course history, it's like, yeah, they never made the cut here. Bryson's never made the cut here. But again, we talked about that. Those tournaments were when he was the size of CT Pan. It was, it was a different person.
Totally different person.
So, I mean, CT's played this course, but it's been since 2019. He's come a long way since then. I think it's not like he's an elite golfer, but he kind of.
What is your infatuation with him, by the way? Is there a story behind this?
Which one? CT?
With CT Pan, yeah.
I know. I mean, just this week, like he's just popping.
You were on him a couple weeks ago too.
I think I was. He checks a few boxes. I'm never gonna play an outright. I might never even play a top 20 on the guy, but if he's like 7,000, he's gonna find his way into DFS. I'm gonna find some matchups if they put him against somebody I think that's playing worse. Whatever, and maybe a little bit of team no putt. You should go look at this guy. He made the cut at the Farmers. Go look at his Farmers strokes gained. He lost like 10s too many. It wasn't 10, but it was a lot on the putting green. This guy can putt really horribly sometimes, but has some decent approach, can play decent around the green. If he putts okay, he plays well. So I'm using him probably in DFS. I probably won't have a bet on the guy at all. And I have his just ownership's pretty low. I think I have him at like 3 or 4%. He'll fall into a lot of lineups for me.
He lost over 10 strokes putting at Farmers. Just a tick over 10, but yeah, a little over 2.5. A little over 2.5 rounds.
I thought I was being hyperbolic. I thought I was just exaggerating.
I have no idea how he made the cut. He lost 1.6 per round on approach.
That's the thing. He had to have like just snuck in and then putted like shit all weekend. Like just consistently lost. And one of those guys who finishes, dead last after the cut. That was always the Jordy thing for me. Remember, like 2 years ago when Jordan wasn't playing well, that guy would annoy the piss out of me because I'd play him in some like daily matchups on Thursday and Friday. I'd lose. The guy would make the cut, and then he'd shoot, like 78 for the weekend. I just need to play. I just need to play him in full tournaments and have my guy make the cut, and that's it. It wins. That's how you win.
67 on opening rounds. 72 on Friday, and then finished up with a 77-79 on the weekends. So that'll do it.
That'll do it.
So I'm not sure what box that's checking, but it's checking it for Andy. He loves himself some CT Pan. Anyone else that's like Ron that you've I know we've done lots of articles. Anyone that maybe wasn't in your line of sight, but then you turned the model on. And they, surprised you when you kind of ran the final numbers?
Yeah, Luke List is a name that, he's been struggling his last couple events, but I mean, just going back to the memory of him at the Farmers and, kind of the three biggest things stat-wise I'm looking at this week is just kind of recent form. Now, obviously his recent form hasn't been good, but if you go back 4 or 5 rounds, he was in the top 5 there. And then strokes gain approach, and then par 5 scoring is really important at this course. 4 of the last 8 winners led the field in par 5 scoring here. So he's third in the field over his last 36 rounds, par 5 scoring. So, just looking at those numbers, of course, he's lost 15 strokes putting these past 2 events, which is mind boggling to me. But that's just what he does. And so, if he can maybe just cut that in half, I don't know. I did get him at 66-1. But again, top 20, top 30, I think I got him for 130 plus 130 for a top 30. So he's another name that sticks out.
Yeah, it's how much do you want to go back to the form? But yeah, I mean, team no putt, elite ball striking. He's definitely the guy. I think we always want to take the longest look that we can. So I get why he would pop up. Ian, give us a couple Canucks. Is there anyone else that's going to find their way on your card this week?
Yeah, I got a top 20 bet. One other name I haven't mentioned so far, Matthias Schwab, the Austrian. Kind of the opposite of Hayden Buckley, where he's not really good off the tee, but he's a fantastic putter. 16th in strokes gained putting on tour this season. T7 at the Honda Classic a few weeks ago, T7 at the Puerto Rico Open. Missed the cut of the Valspar, but then T40. So he at least made the cut at Punta But I mean, weak, like I said before, weak field. And I think I got him at either 4-1 or 5-1 to finish in the top 20. So someone who's that good of a putter, good short game, decent approach game, if he can figure out his driver a little bit this weekend. 33rd in total strokes gain. I think he's worth a bet.
Yeah, I was on with Mayo this week. Mayo gave him a shout out, likes him quite a bit in DFS. So that was a good call. You like to see the, T7 at the Honda. That's a strong field. Again, wind was, wind issue there in Puerto Rico too, the T7s, the back-to-back weeks. So yeah, I think that he is, he's pretty interesting. Ron, are you anywhere along with first round leader? I don't want to speak before. I know you're in the process of doing the model, writing the article. Is there anyone that's jumped out here early in the looks from first round leader model?
Yeah, I'm working through it now, but there's definitely some guys. There's definitely some pretty good value. Kirk right now, you can get him at 50-1. He is initially second overall in the field. He's typically a really good first round player and great course fit. Loves this course, good history here. I didn't mean to bring him up again, but he hasn't popped for me recently since he did win for us a few weeks ago. But I forget what you called him, Noonan, but Mr. KH, first round Lee, he's seventh right now. I still have a few more numbers to add, but
it's kind of an auto bet, right? For everybody.
TPC. It's
TPC Lee. You just
TPC
bet him.
Lee,
If it's a TPC course, you bet him.
TPC Lee.
TPC Lee. You take him outright. You take him first round leader.
First round leader. And he did. What did he do last time we backed him? He was like sixth or something like that. So it was,
And I mean,
I think he had the first round leader earlier this year. And
I think last time out we backed him, and I think he got like, I want to say maybe, I forget where it was, but he was top 10 for sure. I was close.
Yeah, I just call him first.
I think it was the players because I took Sergio and TPC Lee because we were at Sawgrass. Yeah, and I think he was close. Yeah,
and he's
just locked it in first round leader. Let's go.
66-1 is pretty good value for him.
It's a good price.
He's been at. So so that'll be coming out here in the next probably 2 hours or so.
I always look forward to reading that one. Back to Schwab though. These are the guys that I think sometimes go under the radar. I don't know, like the people who do this, like the real market makers in golf, they have data. Like they're scraping shot by shot data. They have European Tour shot by shot data. Like there's a lot you can find out about some of these players who don't play over here exclusively. And I think when you see moves on guys like that, it should be respected a little more. With the stuff, hey, I don't have a lot of data on this guy, but he's getting bet in the market. I don't know who's betting him. Like that sort of stuff always intrigues me. And Schwab was a guy I checked out this week. And it doesn't matter as much here if you go look at the stats, but like kind of an elite greens and regulation guy on the European Tour. You're not going to get a ton of data without really digging in, but just off the top of the surface, like, and also he's a real Austrian, not like Straka, who's for sure just American. Like that guy's not from Austria. Like Schwab's an Austrian for real. He's a true European, and yeah, he's a guy who's intrigued me a little, both DFS and maybe some betting here. With it was the same thing I do with Poulter, except in the opposite. It's like I don't have all my data on Poulter. I kind of want to fade him, but if I go look at the European data from last year and I like it, or I respect it, I'm going to back off that. And then I looked, I'm like, I'm betting against Ian Poulter, I guess. I'm fine with it right now.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Mito was a guy that I like quite a bit and is in the advantageous PM wave, I guess you'd say PM AM wave. The more I like to Mito, I think it's just a nice spot. Irons have been really nice. They're in form. He's gained strokes on approach in 5 straight, above average from a distance standpoint. I like him in this spot where I think he is, one of these guys that can take advantage of a weaker field and work his way up there. So Mito's a guy that I'm probably trying to get a little heavy on in DFS and then, work him into some matchups or some other stuff that I sprinkle on the card here. FanDuel, Ron, has blown our minds. Do you want to talk to the fine folks about what FanDuel is doing to us and how they are either going to make us rich or very poor in a very short period of time?
Yeah, well, credit to you for noticing this. And, either people are going to get rich and they're going to pull this next week, or, I don't know what's going to happen. But, so Noonan, you noticed that you could actually parlay finishing position picks for the first time. And, I've always thought about how awesome it would be to do that. of course, you have your anti-parlay people who are gonna, say you're just burning money. But
it's to Andy's point, it is obvious like every leg that you add is negative EV because you were essentially stealing a position.
Yeah.
For another player, right? So it is, when you do the math on it, is going to play out as a negative EV proposition. But to your point, if there are guys that we've earmarked for these spots that we feel comfortable with, like we're building into these bets anyway, that multiple guys are going to finish within this range of top 40 that we're betting anyway. So we're kind of building that in. But Andy is right. If you do the math, it is negative EV.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So tempting. It's so tempting. And I just put one just really quick together. It was Woodland top 20. McNeely top 30, and then Pereira top 40. Now both of those, all three of those, I have a ton of confidence in. So, I think the payout was like plus 1480 or something like that. So, I don't know where that's going to go, but I don't know how slow I'm going to be able to take it.
I know. I'm trying to be careful. And they allow this to continue for the Masters. It'll be a little different because the Masters, there's like 90 guys in the events. They're in. We can cross off 15 of them because they're more probably because they're either amateurs or they're 80 years old. So
really quick, let me ask if Ian, just really quick, I just saw that you interviewed Will Zalatoris. So just like with the Masters coming up here, I have a 35-1 ticket. I know Ryan does too. What were your impressions of him, and kind of what did you think of what he said to you?
Yeah, it was a bit of an interesting conversation. I kind of talked to him quite a bit more about sports betting more than anything else, but he seems confident in the Masters. But then when I asked him like what types of courses he feels the most comfortable at, he said long courses. Like Torrey Pines was the one, even though he lost the playoff this year, he said year after year he's going to feel comfortable at Torrey Pines. So I did ask him about the Masters. He gave me a little bit of a long-winded answer, but he seems confident. But also at the same time, when you talk to these golfers, I mean, usually they're not going to say, "Oh, I'm feeling like crap right now. I'm probably not going to play well next week." So we'll see. But he said he likes difficult courses. He likes long courses. I don't know how long the Augusta is, but it's certainly difficult.
Difficult, yeah. Technical experience matters, so that's where I worry about him. But sometimes players have that much skill and that much potential and that high of a ceiling that.
And he looked good last year.
Yeah, that's the reason. I mean, that was his qualifier to get in. He was top 12 last year. So, Ian, I know you got to run. Appreciate you joining us today. Your time. Looks like your Twitter. Oh, it's not your full name. It's Mac Betts, which is not. That's not your real name. That's just part of your last name. So, Ian, it's like with a couple I's. Yeah, IAIN. It's the spelling where there's the extra I. Mac Betts on Twitter. Appreciate you joining us. Hope to talk to you again soon. And I think we'll hang out for a few more. But I know you got to run. And again, best of luck to all your bets this week. And go Corey Connors. He's my guy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, guys. I got to jump over to a UFC stream right now. So from one sport to another, it couldn't be complete opposite sports I'm talking about now, from golf to UFC. So I got to jump over that. But yes, thank you guys for having me on. Best of luck with your bets this week, and rest up because next week's the Masters.
It's coming. Thanks, Ian.
Perfect. All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, we want to let you all know where you can continue to find all the stuff here at BetSports Golf. We obviously are now behind the paywall. The best way for you to do so is take advantage of the 4for4 betting sub. You can scoop a 4for4 betting sub between now and Sunday at the Masters. And that price is going up. That is going to get you everything at 4for4. So all the sports that we have MMA, NCAA stuff here for, obviously heading into the weekend, NBA, golf, as you know, you're going to get a free golf subscription for betsportsgolf.com by signing up for the betting sub at 4for4. So if you're a DFS player for other sports, football specifically, you're going to want to check that out. So highly, highly recommend that. Again, there are some free articles on the site as well. So click over to there, look at some of that stuff. You can find some of that for free, I believe. Best article.
Best bets article. It's going to have one of our favorite bets of the week in it from all four of us. Probably more. I'm going to try to rope Jeff into writing one, just giving us a couple sentences, make him get in on the best bets. Maybe some of the guests so we can get a chance to get them in there too. Even if we just have to write down what they said on a show, make them like, hey, guess what? You're in an article. We quoted you. It's a one-party state we were recording. Well, I guess we are recording. That is very, very true. But no, the best bets, Daigle puts together some Prize Picks entries. I know Sam is hard at work on a Prize Picks tool, which is going to be awesome once he gets his projections squared away for the Prize Picks stuff. The maddening thing about that is the poor guy, golf is the same every week except for last week with Match Play, where he's him and Brad have built up these projections and they're starting to get some consistency to things, whereas Prize Picks it's not the same every week, where it's next week there's going to be Prize Picks props for over under shots on Amen Corner. Like I told him that ahead of time. I said that will be a thing. You guarantee they'll have that. You're going to have some of that. You're going to have greens and regulations, fairways, birdies, and betters. So it's a different kind of modeling, more DFS based. And I think he's starting to tighten that. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see what kind of tool we can build for the site. And then if that's free, we're going to have some free informational stuff. There'll be plenty of extra free Masters content. All the shows and podcasts are always going to be free. This is just, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to catch any of this every week, as we'll go over some betting and DFS stuff. And then I'm still stuck on the parlay thing. I would never root against you two, but I'm just hoping you guys take it easy on those. Like, I worry so much about parlaying things with infinite hold, because
for sure
there's no market, so you don't really know what kind of hold you're betting into. So you can never really project what the true odds of that parlay are. And it's just like those effing promo bets that they put out there.
Yes.
It's like, hey, these 6 guys got to make the top 20. It's like, man, just with the high variance of golf and golf motivation, there's always going to be one stinker.
Yep.
And that's what drives me nuts about some of this. To be fair, like I used to do remember 5 Dimes had the 25 leg parlays. And we would do, because it is kind of hard. It's not impossible, obviously, but it's kind of hard to miss the cut at the Masters, especially when they did the within 10 shots of the lead rule. I mean, you could have spots where it's like, man, what, 18 guys missed the cut? What do we, it was very low. So you do a 25 leg to make the cut parlay, which was incredibly negatively correlated, because again, you're putting leg upon leg upon leg. And I swear to God, every year we'd have it like 24 out of 25 though. I'm not sure anyone ever, me and Drew used to do them every year and we'd come so close. The year after he won, do you remember Sergio coming back and just
win the water like 5-6 times in a row,
still being 100? He didn't give a shit. Like he was still doing his victory lap from the year before.
Oh, yeah.
He came in, didn't care. He was the stinker that year for sure. I definitely remember that hole where he just kept, he went full tin cup on it. It's like, mother of pearl, what are you doing, Garcia?
Yeah. I totally am aware. Like, I feel like I have a good process. I
might drive to Iowa and do one.
Yeah. I mean, Daigle rails on me all the time about my thirst and like desire to always have closing line value and to bet optimally and make sure that I'm getting down the best of the number and EV and not doing parlays like I did in my youth. Cause I would do that too. I'd open up college football on Saturday morning and just find just the hammer anyone that was more than 13-point home favorites, and just, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got 12 legs. Let's go. So I've moved on from that and I've evolved. But to Ron's point, we're doing this work. We're simply betting. That's kind of how I stumbled into this. Is I was loading the card up for all the books before I clicked it all through and sent it to the chat. And then I saw on FanDuel, I had a parlay option. And I was like, that's never happened before. Then I just noticed that I happen to have a different position for each of those bets. And I'll be damned. They give me the option to do it. I don't know if it's new. I don't know if it's just the first time I saw it, but I feel comfortable. I'm not betting anyone that I wasn't already betting necessarily. So if you want to give me 74-1 for 4 bets I was already making individually, I'm okay sprinkling on a responsible amount to, get a little bit extra in case I'm right on all of them. So we'll see.
We'll put the FanDuel logo.
It's FanDuel anyway. Are there friends of the show?
Look at that.
Yeah,
official sponsor of the show, FanDuel.
Yeah,
and I'll never, especially if you're just doing some fun long shot parlays, I will never shit on you. Even if you just want to limit me to bets I've made on the Masters, I've made some incredibly, I've made Bryson to drive the is it the third hole that's that shorter par 4? Like, I think it was the third hole. It was like Bryson to drive the green, like green and under regulation on the par 4, at any shot, any of the 4 rounds, and then also during the first round. I definitely bet a prop where it was Spieth to put at least one ball in the water on 12. Like, after it, the year that it was like 2 years after it, I think. I just saw that prop and I just laughed. I'm like, I have to bet that now. It's hilarious. And then you have something to cheer for, especially at Augusta. So I've played some real asshole bets at Augusta for sure over the years. And I for sure bet hole-in-one yes at Augusta every year as well. I mean, that's just that's been a thing. Somebody always has a price that is too close to even money for my liking, and I'm like, that's a bet. I'll take that.
So I'm tempted. I think we'll be responsible as well. I can't speak for Ron. I think he's excited. I'm excited too. But I actually plugged in another one and didn't put it through. And I'm like, this is enough. Like I don't want to go. I'll save it for the Masters. I'd rather save some of that bankroll. I try to have a fairly light card this week. Just I'll take advantage of Ron's in tournament matchups because I think that's always an edge for us. So whether that's showdown or round by round stuff. So, but it is tempting. And, I tried it on other sites just to see, is this a thing anywhere else? And it is not. It is just exclusive to our friends at FanDuel. So thank you, FanDuel.
And it's funny, we are making some upgrades to the BetSperts app. Whereas like, if you want to track your golf betting, you can track an outright and you can track a head to head. That's about it right now. Just, there wasn't a big need for it. And with the rise of golf betting, and everything. I mean, we're just making upgrades all across the board. We're going to have NBA player props that you can track. Basically, if you can make a bet on any of the legal books, it's going to be available to track on BetSperts pretty soon here. We're doing some beta testing on the back end. I am way behind. I actually was supposed to download the new beta test app and do some playing around with NBA stuff today. I'll get to it tonight, but that's the sort of stuff that we'll have. And it's funny because somebody asked me a question as they were working on the development, and they said, would anyone ever be able to parlay like a top 20 with a top 20? Like, do we need to have that functionality on our end? And I'm like, no one would ever allow that. That was my answer without even opening a book and checking. I'm like, no one's letting you do that. And then the same thing I said, I'm like, they should let you, like, let somebody just make a 10-leg top 20 parlay if they really want to do it, because somebody would get goofy with that. And then they could just, they'd cash that before the tournament was over. But it's funny that somebody asked me that question, like literally a week ago, about just some of the logic for the app. And now FanDuel's letting, which I get it. Maybe it's just a glitch in their software that might just, like Ron said, go away after this week. Yeah. Where the fact that because you said you couldn't put 2 top 40s together.
Nope.
But if it was a 20, a 30, and a 40, it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that feels like just a flaw in their logic. That's funny. Now I kind of want to drive to Iowa tonight.
Well, the one that I put in, the lines have already shrunk. So, people are already catching on, I'm sure, but I haven't heard of it till you mentioned it. So who knows? I don't think it was out there last week. So
yeah,
I've never heard somebody mention it. I wonder if it wasn't. So
I like it because, to your point, like they have, and I'm always tempted. I'll click through the promotional ones that they have, but all we're doing is basically customizing the promotional ones that you have, because I always feel like there's always one guy in there that I don't want any action on, and he's in there, and it's like, well, I don't want Jason Day this week, and I don't want Charlie Hoffman this week. And like, they're in all of the ones that like, oh, I really am interested in the rest of those guys. And they sneak in that one guy. So we'll see. So
that's just, anytime those boosts happen, I just bet those guys to miss the cut. Like, oh, they're boosting Brooks this week. Like, miss the cut.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to give me $20 extra on that. I'm going to go the other way. So
Feinberg's onto that too, I think. So we'll let Andy get going because Andy's got a deep dive. Check out Deep Dive with Drew and Andy and Thor if you want to get into some NFL prospects and NFL draft betting, which I know Andy and I are trying to do on the side in our free time, which is non-existent, but definitely when I'm not looking at golf, I'm definitely looking at the NFL draft. So check out the Deep Dive tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be my catch up. That's in like a half hour, honestly. So I'm going to go grab something to drink and get ready for that, because I do need a good catch up. And Thor, that guy is living and breathing prospects, NFL draft, heavy into college football, heavy into Devy and college and whatever it is. It's like campus to whatever. Like there's these dynasty football leagues where you draft college players and then you get them in the NFL too. I don't fully understand this stuff.
High school prospects.
Yeah,
guys that are committing to college as seniors.
Yeah, some of these campus to Cooperstown doesn't make sense. It's baseball. Campus to something like that. But yeah, these guys are wild ass fantasy leagues that I don't fully understand. So yeah, look forward to that. We'll check you guys tomorrow. I'll have an article out tonight. Go check out betspurtsgolf.com. Bunch of stuff up. Everyone's betting cards are up. And we'll see you tomorrow for some golf.
Sounds good. Thanks for listening, everyone.